We've investigated countless locations. We've seen things that defy explanation, but some cases they just stick with you. The Smurl family's story is one of them. It all began with a simple American dream. Jack, Janet, Dawn, Heather. They were looking for a place to call their own, a place to build a life. In 1974, they found what they thought was the perfect spot. A duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. It was a chance to live close to Jack's parents. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a safe haven for their growing family. They had no idea what was waiting for them inside those walls. The house itself wasn't some ancient Gothic mansion. Nothing about it screamed haunted. But evil doesn't always advertise itself. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting patiently for the right moment to reveal its true nature. For the Smurls, the first year was quiet, peaceful even. They settled in, made memories, and lived their lives. But, slowly, subtly, something began to change. A darkness was stirring, an unseen presence making itself known in the most unsettling ways. The dream was about to unravel. The first signs were small, easy to dismiss. A tool would go missing, only to reappear days later in a completely different spot. Stains appeared. Then came the sounds, faint scratches from within the walls, footsteps when everyone was accounted for. What starts with a whisper often ends in a scream. For the Smurl family, the minor annoyances quickly escalated. The disembodied sounds grew louder, more aggressive. They would hear their names being called by phantom voices that echoed through the hallways. The foul odors became overpowering. Rot sulfur appearing and disappearing without any source. Sulfur, mist. Shadowy figures began to dart in the corner of their vision. Black masses with a chilling weight. The house felt like it was actively watching them. The entity started to manifest in more terrifying ways. The family's television reportedly burst into flames. A chandelier shook violently, threatening to crash down on them. Rooms plummeted in temperature, visible breath, unnatural cold. Objects moved on their own. Doors slammed. This was physical, impossible to ignore. The force demonstrated its power, showing the family it could manipulate the physical world. The fear in that house must have been suffocating. Then the haunting turned violent. Beds shook. People were assaulted by an unseen force. Jack claimed he was assaulted in his sleep. Janet described being levitated and thrown across a room. Jack spoke of a succubus, a female demon that would assault him in his sleep. Their daughter Dawn was shaken violently in her bed. This was physical and psychological torment. Trapped in a living nightmare, the Smurl family felt completely isolated. Where do you turn when the threat is something most people don't even believe exists? Their first instinct, seek help from the Catholic Church. They were religious. They saw this as a spiritual war, good versus evil. They pleaded with the Diocese of Scranton for assistance, hoping for an official exorcism. They wanted a ritual to drive out the darkness. The church's response was cautious, hesitant to sanction a full exorcism without proof. The diocese authorized several masses. A priest blessed the house, but those efforts seemed to have little effect. Activity often intensified after blessings. Running out of options, they reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens had tackled extreme cases before. Amityville, Perron. The Warrens arrived at the Chase Street house in 1986. Lorraine immediately sensed a powerful dark energy. Ed began documenting evidence, collecting audio recordings. He conducted interviews to build a case file and concluded the house was infested by a powerful demon. Ed played audio recordings he said contained disembodied voices captured on tape. They arranged for exorcist Father Robert McKenna to perform the rite. They tried multiple times to cleanse the home, but the demon proved stubborn and deeply entrenched. The battle for the Smurl family's home and their souls had escalated. Objects moved, shadows lingered near religious symbols. Despite intervention, the house remained a battleground. The entity was entrenched, and the family was running out of options. As the Warrens brought their high-profile investigation, the Smurls' private hell became a public spectacle. Reporters, television crews, curious onlookers descended on Chase Street. The story exploded in the media. Every strange noise and shadow was broadcast for everyone to hear. Chase Street turned into a chaotic circus, the family's privacy obliterated. They sought help and invited the scrutiny of the entire world. The community of West Pittston was torn in two. Many stood by the Smurls, prayers, vigils, support. But intense attention brought a wave of skepticism. Tabloids accused them of a hoax. Skeptics pointed to the lack of concrete physical evidence. They questioned the timing. Many dramatic events coincided with media interest. Some neighbors reported never seeing or hearing anything, casting doubt on the family's claims. The family found themselves constantly defending their story, recounting trauma to a world both fascinated and critical. The intense public exposure added another layer of torment. Their search for help had turned their lives upside down. The debate raged, believers citing consistent testimony and the Warrens, skeptics citing lack of proof. The lack of verifiable independent evidence remained the biggest hurdle for doubters. Was it a genuine demonic infestation or a cleverly orchestrated publicity stunt? Tabloids screamed hoax. Commentators argued the family was exhausted. Still, many offered comfort and prayer. Chase Street became a chilling reminder that darkness can invade ordinary lives. They were exhausted from the hauntings and the relentless judgment of the outside world. In 1987, exhausted and worn down, the Smurl family finally moved out of the house on Chase Street. They hoped that by leaving they'd leave the haunting behind. Jack later claimed the entity followed them to their new home for a time. The attachment seemed not just to the location, but to the family. The story was immortalized in a 1986 book, The Haunted, and a 1991 television movie, bringing their experience to a wider audience. To this day, the Smurl haunting remains one of the most debated cases in American paranormal history. Believers cite the Warrens and the family's consistency as proof. They argue no family would invite such ridicule unless it was terrifyingly real. Skeptics maintain the affair can be explained by psychological factors, environmental causes, or a hoax. They point to mold, gas, EMF, natural explanations for perceived phenomena. Subsequent residents reported no unusual activity, prompting further questions. Why would a powerful entity simply vanish after the Smurls left? Some suggest the family was influenced by a surge in paranormal stories in the 1980s or misinterpreted natural phenomena due to stress. The questions linger, hanging in the air like ghostly whispers. The story was immortalized in print and on the screen. Its legacy is a chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest stories leave us with no clear answers. What happened inside that house on Chase Street? Was it a powerful demon, as the Smurls and the Warrens claimed, or a perfect storm of stress, suggestion, and unexplained natural events? The legacy of the Smurl haunting remains, a story that refuses simple answers.